On the Fringe with Dan Radio Style. Hope everybody out there's having themselves a great day. The big, beautiful bill has passed the Senate, barely. J.D. Vance had to pass or cast the tie-breaking vote. We'll talk about that coming up. A lot of people pissed off about this bill. In fact, there's another Musk-Trump feud going on because of this. So a lot of things are blowing up. Again, it's interesting to see who's making the angry noise. Again, I'm kind of about really supporting what Trump's trying to do. I get that we're raising the debt level. I get there's some stuff that doesn't look good up front, but I believe there's so many things loaded up and ready to go that are going to kind of more than make up for it. I just feel like we're being very black and white on these issues. A lot of people are just very myopically looking at one part of this and not really the big picture. Again, just so much going on, but let's get into it. Got a lot to talk about. Got some cool news from Maha and some other great stuff like that. So let's get the ball rolling. Now, this is just kind of a good place to start. We've seen over the past years, frankly, we've seen pundits and pollsters being completely wrong. We've seen everybody under the sun saying what Trump was going to do was going to get us into war, that the tariffs were going to cause a destruction of the economy, it was going to cause prices to blow up, it was going to cause everything, right? Everything under the sun that Trump ever does or thinks of doing is never going to work. And what we're seeing, and hopefully many of us are waking to, is like everything that we've ever been told by experts or degreed people with degrees, as they put here, everything we've been told by these experts is wrong. I mean, we talk about global warming. They've been saying the end of the world's been going to come in the next 10 years, and they've been saying that for over 40 years. We've got a number of different situations all over the place that they keep telling us are going to happen. This attack that we did against Iran was going to lead to a larger war. Us kind of backing away from the Ukraine-Russia thing, that Putin was going to somehow start to invade Europe, which they're still saying. Again, all of these people have been wrong about everything. I mean, they're not right about anything. They've been wrong about everything. And yet these are the people that have been shaping society. They've been telling us one thing, and obviously it's never been true, but we've all been following what they've been telling us. Oh, they said this is going to happen, so we've obviously got to do what they say, X, Y, and Z, or else this is going to happen. And I think hopefully many of us are finally waking up to the fact that it's not true. Now, I say that too because there's a lot of people even on our side of the fence. And again, this is part of the awakening process. And I think it took me a little while to kind of come to terms with this because it pissed me off at first. And now it's like, everybody's got to come to this in their own way. But we've got a number of people on our side of the fence that are constantly preaching fear in just any number of ways, all over the place. And every bit of fear porn that's so far been levied has been wrong. All of it. I was thinking about it earlier. I'm like, I can't think of any of the fear porn that's actually come to fruition, at least as nasty as the fear porn indicated it would be. Yet, many of us still are enhanced to watch the fear porn, or still going to flick on or click on whatever it is that's got some sort of emotional draw to it. So many of us haven't really figured it out. Got to detach from mainstream media, in some cases, even detaching from social media. There is so much emotion, there's so much anger, there's so much vitriol, there's so much of this out there that it bombards the psyche. It destroys your chance to make rational decisions because emotion infects it. And then now you've got this belief that, for example, AI is going to destroy us all. Now, am I going to swear it's not gonna? No, but at the same time, every time anyone hypothetically says something horrific's going to happen, it's like, well, what if the opposite is true? What if something good comes from this? Now, the big one that I've been fighting, and I'm going to get off, I'm not dying on this hill, that's for sure, is the AI and states being able to affect that. That actually failed, so a lot of you guys should be stoked. I'm just going to reiterate one more time, even though it's unpopular. China and the deep state are definitely not inflicting rules or controls on their AI. They're not doing it. They're going to do whatever they will and want. There's people in this country that are worried about privacy and things like that. China's not. And I'm going to say each one of you guys that's on TikTok, yeah, China's specifically using your data. What, are you actually worried? Because their AI is going to use and exploit your data. It will make fake videos with your data. They already have it. You've already consented to it. So again, if you're not using TikTok, cool. You're probably going to be okay. Probably. If you're on Facebook, nah, they're going to use AI on that. And they're not going to throw any necessarily some controls. They might. We'll see. So again, I understand that we don't want it to be used nefariously. I totally get that, and I'm 100% supportive of that. But if we keep ourselves from doing certain things with AI, and yeah, again, we shouldn't be manipulating kids, we shouldn't be manipulating people, we shouldn't be making fake movies. Like, okay, let's have some rules, that's cool. But China or whoever, deep state, they're going to. They're going to. Period. So as long as we don't limit our ability to protect ourselves from their AI, and it's more an issue of just making sure we don't vastly take advantage of our own people, which I'm against, then hopefully it works out. Again, fear porn doesn't help, and I'm sort of preaching a little of it myself. I think it's all going to work out in the big picture in the end. I do think stuff's going to happen. I think a lot of people are going to have a hard time telling the difference between real and fake. In fact, we've got an interesting story about ChatGPT and how that's actually affecting people in a very weird way right now. And this is going to continue. And frankly, this is part of what the experience is supposed to be. A lot of people need to learn how to discern. Learn to discern. It's going to be probably the most valuable skill that any of us ever figure out. And a lot of people have zero ability to discern. I hope we can help through that. I hope you guys are going to be a big helper of that. We certainly need to be smart and better. ChatGPT triggers psychosis. A lot of people do not realize that ChatGPT essentially is set up to try to make people happy. It's been caught in multiple places making stuff up. It's been caught in multiple places pacifying people, telling them whatever crazy thoughts they have are perfect and rational and correct. There's a lot of people that are utilizing it to make decisions in their life, that are talking to it like it's a friend. And this is, kind of weird, kind of funny, kind of weird, kind of demonstrates where we are as a culture. And a lot of these people that are using ChatGPT right now to solve problems are probably some of the people that are freaked out about AI. And it's like, man, you're already knee deep in the problem, and now all of a sudden you're going to talk about it. So again, we've got a lot of things to be concerned about. Again, I've used Grok. I don't use ChatGPT. I used ChatGPT one time, and that was I was trying to make a video, and Grok wouldn't make a video, and I'm like, what? It doesn't have the ability to make videos? How are all these videos getting made? And so then I said, like, maybe ChatGPT can, and I tried the exact same thing with ChatGPT, and it wouldn't make a video for me either. So I was like, that was the only time I've ever used it. Otherwise, I use Grok, and the only time I use Grok is when I'm trying to research something, and I know it's got a reasonably, it's very quick at being able to bounce through a lot of different stuff and pull me back a summary of that. It just saves me a crap ton of time, and I've used it a few times to make thumbnails. It's pretty cool. You can get it to make some really neat stuff. You got a crazy idea, and you just feed that into Grok, and it spits out an image that doesn't look great in most cases, but it covers what I need it to do, and there you go. But I don't ask it anything. I don't try to, I just don't. Learn to discern is all we can do. And we'll see how this plays out. I think a lot of people are going to fall victim to a lot of the nonsense that's happening. Just kind of a warning to everybody everywhere, but certainly here in California, police are going to be using drones over the coming days and slightly after to monitor fireworks. Now, back in the day, people would do illegal fireworks. They'd launch them off, and then they'd scatter before cops could ever show up. That's not going to happen anymore. They've got very sophisticated drones that are going to be able to get license plates and everything like that. Cops will be showing up at people's doors and busting them, which is good, frankly, especially here because we've got such the possibility of catching fire and burning down our entire state. So, yeah, it'd be best not to have fireworks all over the place. So anyways, happy 4th coming up to everybody, too. Hopefully you guys are going to join us in Houston. Mamdani's government grocery plan. So he's got this idea in his head that there's this $140 million being spent by the city to create these food retail expansion to support health. It's called the Fresh program. Well, Mamdani's under the impression that this is actually taxpayer money. So he's like, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 60 million of that, and I'm actually going to create state-owned grocery stores. That's communism, by the way, completely. State-owned. That's communism. And what he was completely wrong about is the state doesn't actually pay this. They give tax breaks. And the $140 million, this number that he's claiming, well, this was actually paid by private grocery stores that have expanded into low-income areas and gotten tax breaks to do it. That's nothing that the city has spent. City lost out on $3.3 million in tax revenue. That's it. So again, this guy, this communist, has no idea how some of this stuff works, but he's already looking into how he can, one, he doesn't want billionaires, two, he wants to take anyone's money, three, he's already said there should be non-white zones and things like this. The dude's horrible. We'll be curious to see what happens in New York. Now, I really don't think the votes are legit. I think we've got a lot of people voting that shouldn't be voting. I think when we go to paper ballots, it's going to make things very interesting. Now, I'm going to wonder, in some cases, a lot of these states that are very heavily controlled, California, New York, for two examples, they might still try to use electronic voting for all local stuff. But national, they're going to have to use paper. It's coming. It's going to be a mandate. It's going to be an executive order. Judges aren't going to be able to stop it. It'll be paper ballots because the truth is coming out. China was definitely involved. They sent, well, some are speculating, over 1 million driver's licenses here, and that it actually played a huge impact on how the votes turned out. And we know there was other state-sponsored things. Now, again, was it China or was it the deep state? Of course it was the deep state, masquerading, as China. So again, this isn't like we need to go to war with China, but I think we are about to get a little more stern with China. And that's a big part of why we want to make sure we've got plenty of missile defense systems and stuff like that, because we're frankly about to go poke the bear or the dragon, however you want to look at it. And so it's going to be interesting what we experience and how this all plays out. Gavin Newsom declares a budget emergency as he signs a record $321 billion budget. This emergency, I think, allowed him to pull some funds from a few years before he was governor, by the way. The year before he was governor, we actually had a surplus. He's now pulling from that. It does actually get into some of the fun stuff because Gavin Newsom was trying to blame Trump for this. He says it's largely due to the federal government's sweeping tariff policy. The 2025 May revision forecast of the California economy projects projects a period of below-trend growth and rising unemployment. And general fund revenue forecast has been downgraded by $5.2 billion in the fiscal years 2023 to 2024 through 2025 to 2026. But while Newsom blames the Trump administration for the state's economic slowdown, federal data actually shows California lost a net 80,000 jobs in 2024. That's prior to Trump. And had shed 173,000 private sector jobs between January 2023 and December 2024, suggesting the state's economic woes predated the Trump administration. In fact, 38.2% of Californians are so low income they qualify for Medi-Cal, which has a monthly income threshold of $1,800 or $21,000, I guess, a year, or about half of what one would make working at a fast food restaurant full time. Actually, probably fast food actually pays better than that. I would say it's probably closer to $60,000 if you're working full time at a fast food restaurant, which sounds like a lot of money, but it's still your poverty. So in March, nearly half of all the new jobs were in the state's in-home supportive services program. It's a welfare program by which disabled or elderly Medi-Cal beneficiaries can use taxpayer money to employ household members for up to 70 hours a week for household tasks, including boosts for overtime pay. Nearly 750,000 Californians are now classified as employed IHSS providers, meaning family members of somebody that needs help. And so they're being paid by taxpayers to help family members, which is obviously not a very good use of money. So Newsom signs these sweeping rollbacks of key California environmental stuff. It's kind of shocking that he's doing this. I think some of this is because building home, like he's even literally saying, like it's just ridiculous how slow some of the stuff's going. So a lot of this has to do around home building, being able to get stuff built quicker. They did talk about how it didn't apply to rezoning, which I feel like is tied into what they're trying to do in Los Angeles. So again, he still wants to be able to do some of the shady stuff they're doing, but he is pulling back on some of the hurdles, the red tape, all the nonsense. He seems like he's actually trying to remove some of the hurdles because of how ridiculous it's gotten. So again, even Gavin Newsom can see that it's necessary. Congress subpoenas 2 Act Blue officials to compel testimony in a Democratic fundraising probe. 3 House committees gave the officials a chance to testify voluntarily, but they declined. So now their subpoena is out. Jim Jordan, House Oversight Chairman James Comer, and House Administrative Chairman Brian Stile require the 2 witnesses, former Act Blue Vice President of Customer Service Alyssa Twomey and a senior workflow specialist, to appear for testimony by July 15th. Hopefully that is what we expect it to be. We'll find out. Here's a little walk down Alligator Alcatraz here. Is kind of what it looks like from the inside. Obviously not a place anybody wants to stay, that's for sure. But, yeah, crazy nonetheless. Here's Trump talking with Ron DeSantis when he was down in Florida, and they went there together.
Say is, don't let Florida be the only state. We've got very red states that should be doing this just as much as Florida's doing. That will increase their numbers. And then what happens is you'll have a lot of people that will deport on their own because they don't want to end up in an Alligator Alcatraz or some of those other places. So I think this is a model, but we need other states to step up.
I was going to ask you, would this be enticing for other states to come up with their own model?
They are doing it. We have Louisiana doing it, big Alabama's doing it. We have a lot of states. They seem to be red states and not too many blue states for whatever reason, you know. But the red states, Republican-run states, are doing it. The blue states don't do very well at security and policing, unfortunately. What would you say, Chris?
You know, I would say that exactly right. The governor here has been fantastic in forming this partnership with the Department of Homeland Security. We were looking at different contracts with different vendors and thought, why not go straight to our governors and ask them to help us solve this problem? Florida was unique in what they presented to us, and I would ask every other governor to do the exact same thing. This is unique because we can hold individuals here.
Yeah, all very unique and stuff. So, yeah, we're doing some stuff that's obviously pissing people off, too, which is always fun. Here's Trump talking about why Alejandro Mayorkas has not been arrested yet. It was actually an interesting question, and his answer I thought was pretty good. Check it out.
Julio Rosas, Blaze Media, sir. A couple months ago, I ran into former DHS Secretary Mayorkas, and I asked him a couple questions about his disastrous handling of the border. He didn't like my questions. But the number one question that I heard from people in responding to my video was, why hasn't he been arrested yet? Obviously, you guys are cleaning up the mess that was made deliberately for the past 4 years, and so people want accountability. It's great to see that the border is secured, and it's great to see the state level cooperation. But I guess I would ask you, why hasn't he been held accountable, or anybody? Really
well, you know, pardons were given out by to many people, and they shouldn't have been given out. Like the Unselect Committee of Political Thugs was given a pardon because they destroyed all of the information from 2 years of hearings. And they should be arrested, but they were given pardons. Was he given a pardon, Mayorkas? Was he not?
I don't believe so.
Well, I'd take a look at that one, because what he did is, it's beyond incompetence. Something had to be done. Now, with that being said, he took orders from other people, and he was really doing the orders. And you could say he was very loyal to them, because it must have been very hard for him to stand up and sit up and, talk about what he allowed to happen to this country and be serious about it. So he was given orders. If he wasn't given a pardon, I could see looking at that. In fact, why don't you take a look at it, Kristen? He was impeached, but yeah, it was just a fake impeachment. It was a fake impeachment. Why don't you take a look at it? I think he was so bad. They were all so bad. Look, it was the worst president in the history of our country. We've had some bad ones, but he was the worst president. But somebody told Mayorkas to do that, and he followed orders, but that doesn't necessarily hold him harmless. So take a look at it. It's a very good question, actually. Thank you.
And he's kind of got a point there, because really it was whoever was in charge of the auto pen or whatever was the one that actually told him to do that. So, again, things are getting interesting. Right here, we've got RFK Jr. talking about President Trump and his actual honest opinion about him as he's gotten to know the man. He was on Tucker, probably a pretty good episode. I want to try to check this one out eventually. But here's a pretty good little segment.
And, President Trump does that. Whatever you think about him, there's a new feeling in America now that, we're back on the upswing again. As he says, the country is hot again, and all around the world, people see that too. And, a lot of things have surprised me about the president because I, bought into this fact that he was this one-dimensional character, that he was kind of a bombastic narcissist and all this. And, and part of it is hearing it all the time on TV, but also, the way that he conducts himself sometimes validates those. If you have that narrative, you can find things in what he does that validate that narrative. But what I've been surprised in getting to know him is what a kind of deep, multidimensional and thoughtful character he is, and how well. I also thought, he doesn't read, and, he's not interested in anything. He's immensely curious, inquisitive, and immensely knowledgeable. He's encyclopedic in certain areas that you wouldn't expect, like music. And, he gets very emotional about music. And,
yes.
And he knows the whole story behind every song.
Pavarotti and James Brown.
Yeah, he cries when he hears Pavarotti. He said to me one night when we were at Mar-a-Lago with the Amarillas, he said, Amarillas, you understand this because she loves music too. And he said, but most of the people here, they don't understand it. They don't get it. And then in terms of sports, he's an encyclopedia. He knows everything. And then, on Wall Street, he knows how everybody made their money and the stories. And he's, an incredible raconteur about telling all these stories. And then, and also the most surprising thing is because I had him pegged as a narcissist, but narcissists are incapable of empathy. And he's one of the most empathetic people that I've met. You notice whenever he talks about the Ukraine war,
yes,
he always talks about the casualties on both sides. Every time he talks about it.
I have noticed that.
And he does that in every theater. He talks about how human beings are affected by it, whether it's vaccines or Medicaid or Medicare. He's always thinking about how this impacts the little guy. And, the Democrats have him pegged as a guy who's sort of sitting, in the cabinet meeting talking about how can we make billionaires richer. He's the opposite of that. He's a genuine populist. And, like all of us, we're all flawed characters in one way or another. But I think he's really the uniquely right person for this country right now because we were in a death spiral. And not only just, morale, but also just, the deficits are, who could ever, would you believe we'd ever have a president in our lifetime who would actually be addressing, the cost of government in a dramatic way?
No.
And the trade deficits. How could you ever cure that? They're just too entrenched and so many people, making money and on them. But meanwhile, us all going to hell in a handbasket. And, so I think he's doing stuff at great political cost to him that is going to benefit this country 10 years from now and 20 years from now. And, I'm really proud to be part of it.
Yeah, he's just, I agree. He's the right dude at the right time, without a doubt. And thank God for that matter. President's a federal judge is back at it again. We've got federal judges on Tuesday. They blocked the Trump administration from moving forward with plans to overhaul the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services by substantially cutting its workforce and shuttering entire agencies within the department. U.S. District Judge Melissa Dubose in Providence, Rhode Island, issued an injunction at the behest of a group of Democratic-led states who challenged the plan HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. appointed in March to consolidate agencies and fire 10,000 of the department's employees. I find it interesting that an executive branch, organization within an executive branch, we've got states that somehow are able to stop what they want to do to shape that branch. I find that to be very interesting. I don't think this is going to survive appeal. This might just be one more example of something that's got to spin up to the Supreme Court. Whatever the case is, this is going to slow down the thinning of this particular place or this organization. What is this? U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Yeah. So it's gonna. They're trying to just. They're trying to collapse 28 divisions into 15. A bunch of redundancies in there. So we've got a whole lot of extra people that don't need to be there. So again, this is something that needs to happen. And when we talk about saving money, like the big, beautiful biatch of a bill, is not necessarily like upfront saving money, but there's a lot of cost savings and cuts that we've got that we're going to make, assuming we can eventually. I've been told, folks, that this is the last day for free shipping. Literally, today is Tuesday. Tuesday is the last day for free shipping. So if you want to take advantage of the free shipping, and you want to go to mypillow.com/OTF, mypillow.com/OTF, check out all the great stuff. They've got awesome sheets of all different kinds. They've got great sales going on those. Mattress toppers and the mattresses. Ooh, look at that. The mattress has already gone up. It was like $598. Now it's up to $799. Uh-oh. Look at this. Mattress topper was $99.99. Now it's $149.97. Yeah, this is what happens when you don't take advantage of the good sales. And we still got the good towels. The Giza sheets have gone up a little bit. Again, you still got the summertime sheets up here, $29.88. I'd take advantage of that because that's not going to last too much longer. Also, the free shipping, you could probably get the free 3-pack. They say you just got to pay shipping. I'm not sure how that works when they're giving you free shipping, but if you haven't tried the Rev 7, it's freaking yummy. Definitely worth it. Awesome energy. Great products. Also got my Cross, his necklace that Mike Lindell does. Save 50% on that. I believe I'm talking to Mike tomorrow, too, so we'll hopefully get a nice little segment with him and find out everything that he's got going on. They've got pillows. They got everything. They've also got clearance event stuff. You should always check out the clearance page. They've just got some amazing things in there. They've got nice slippers, quilts, the towels, hand towels, or different clothing. I finally bought some of their socks, by the way. I've been claiming I was going to do that forever. I haven't worn them yet. They just got them. I just literally today they showed up. So anyway, I haven't washed them yet, but I'm going to check them out at some point. But go to mypillow.com/OTF. That's mypillow.com/OTF. Get the best night of sleep you have ever had. Here's Trump doubling down when asked about Elon Musk and this tiff and what's going on. People are, asking Trump, hey, did you see that Elon's mad at you again? Are you going to deport him? And anyway, some crazy shit, but it is what it is.
I don't know. I think we'll have to take a look. We might have to put Doge on Elon. You know what Doge is? Doge is the monster that might have to go back and eat Elon. Wouldn't that be terrible? He gets a lot of subsidies, Peter. But Elon's very upset that the EV mandate is going to be terminated. And you know what? When you look at it, not everybody wants an electric car. I don't want an electric car. I want to have maybe gasoline, maybe electric, maybe a hybrid, maybe someday a hydrogen. If you have a hydrogen car, it has one problem. It blows up, So I'm going to give that one to Peter. I'm going to let Peter test it out.
Let Peter test it out. That's pretty funny. So yeah, there's a lot of discussion around what's happening. Here's Stephen Miller pitching the big beautiful bill and his take on it. And he's always so well spoken. Check it out.
I've spent my entire life in the conservative movement. Since I was a kid in high school, working, dreaming of the day where we could have a piece of legislation like what exists right now, Sean, what President Trump has brought to the precipice of passage. Each and every one of the individual titles in this bill would be considered one of the great achievements in the history of the conservative movement. The title, for example, building the missile defense shield for the United States of America, Sean, so we can be safe, our children can be safe from foreign adversaries in this growing era of intercontinental ballistic missiles as nations race for supremacy. The section on this bill enshrining border and homeland security, this is the most far-reaching border security proposal, homeland security proposal in my lifetime. Sean, not just my lifetime, going back to Eisenhower, going back to since we've had conversations about the border, Sean. I take this seriously. I've stood by the families whose kids have been murdered by illegal aliens. We made them a promise. Most importantly, the American people voted to fulfill that promise in the last election. This bill fulfills it. It is the largest tax cut and reform in American history. No tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime, 100% expensing for new factories. Think about that. Every single business owner with a dream of manufacturing in America can deduct 100% of that cost to make the American dream come true here in the United States. Here's another one for you, Sean. The largest welfare reform in American history. Work requirements on food stamps, work requirements on Medicaid. the two largest welfare programs that exist, and now we are attaching work requirements to those programs. Orders of magnitude larger than the welfare reform that Republicans enacted into law in the 1990s. I am sick and tired of the lies about this bill that have been perpetrated by opportunists who are trying to make a name for themselves. This is the most conservative bill in my lifetime. Tax cuts, defense, border security, homeland security, welfare reform, and the largest spending cut in one bill that has ever been enacted. So, Sean, let's work together. Let's pass this bill. Let's get it to President Trump's desk by July 4th.
And hopefully they do. We'll see how that all plays out. But as the final vote looms, 8 GOP holdouts threaten the passage of the bill. Now, again, it finally made it. But 3 of the holdouts that we expected did definitely not vote for it. Tom Tillis, Rand Paul, and Lisa Murkowski, I believe. Or was it Collins? One of the two. Might have been Collins. I think it was Collins. They voted no. They voted with the Democrats. Let's say it that way. They voted with the Democrats. They voted against the party. We still passed it, barely, but it passed. J.D. Vance obviously needed to break the tie votes, and here's where it ended. This was the vote by there's 2 different crazy votes that happened. So this was one of the amendments that they were trying to get in there. So a vote of 49 to 51, the Senate has just rejected an amendment which would have funded Planned Parenthood as part of the BBB. We barely averted that one. That was one that the parliamentarian literally let us have, so that was kind of cool. Senate rejects the Big Beautiful Bill's measure to remove illegal aliens from Medicaid. This one didn't pass. 56 to 44, the parliamentarian last minute changed it and said, this is not going to be part of a reconciliation. You must get 60 votes. They actually managed to get some Democrats to vote with them, 56 to 44, but not the 60 threshold. So obviously there was 44 Democrats that are very okay with illegal aliens getting Medicaid money. Anyone surprised? Nope, but we'll get there. We'll get there, folks. J.D. Vance broke the 50-50 tie, as I was saying, so it did pass. A 27-hour marathon. These guys were there all night long. In fact, I saw one thing where Fetterman was like, dude, I just want to go home. So, yeah, it was a very, very long night. And these guys they got it across the finish line. A lot of people upset with it, but they definitely got it across the finish line. The biggest Medicaid cuts in history are supposedly still going to be coming somehow from Medicaid. I don't know if this is out of order from the other, because it looked like the Medicaid cuts, at least as far as pulling out the illegal alien portion of it, we apparently still, probably the working aspect of it. Maybe they kept that in there. They're cutting $1.7 trillion in the bill. You're not going to fill any of it, Trump said. I think this is the one where you have to, basically, if you're able-bodied, or if you have a child that's over 14 or 6, depending on which vote. I think the Senate had it at 6. If you're able-bodied, though, then you should be working. Or if you, for some reason, can't find a job, then they've got some volunteer stuff you can do, and you have to do, I think it's 80 hours a month, and then you can keep your Medicaid, which is good. You shouldn't necessarily get it for free, so maybe that's one of the things we're talking about. House GOP fumes over Senate mega bill. How did it get so much effing worse? Seriously. I mean, the House is pissed on this. I know Marjorie Taylor Greene's going to vote no. Like, a bunch of them are going to vote no now. Obviously, we know the Thomas, Massey, and a couple of those holdouts. And I'm not surprised that Marjorie Taylor Greene's going to sit on that one again. And that's kind of the thing right now. It's like, this really needs to be passed. And I get some of these people are afraid of what's going to happen when it comes to re-elections. And frankly, Massey definitely should be. Marjorie Taylor Greene should be. She keeps hopping on the wrong side of the fence often now. It's just like regular. So again, everybody's going against the bill. We need to get this funding and this tax cut cinched. We need to get Trump some money so he can start building a wall and really deporting people quickly and thoroughly. He needs to start building the Iron Dome or Golden Dome or whatever the hell he's calling it. All that stuff needs to start happening. And we've got all these people that are getting hung up on, individual things. Literally one thing, like Marjorie Taylor Greene was bitching about. I'm trying to remember exactly what one she was mad about. I don't think it was the salt thing. I don't think it was the raising the debt level either. I forget which one she was pissed about. But they're all individually mad about like one thing. And they're like, I can't vote for this now because of this. It's like, there's a whole bunch of other stuff in there that needs to be voted on. And you're gonna say no on the entire bill because of one thing. That's insane. Like, it's totally about herding cats right now. Like, Whatever. Judge delays the Abrego Garcia's release from Tennessee jail because he knows they're going to get deported. I think this is hilarious because the judge initially was like, you've got to let him out of jail. And they're like, all right, we'll let him out of jail and immediately deport him. And they're like, we'll leave him in jail. It's kind of funny. It's the only thing protecting the dude and keeping him in the country right now is the fact that he's in jail. Not sure how long that lasts, but yeah, he's not getting out anytime soon. We had another interesting plane crash. This one's got, mischief written on it. A wealthy steel magnate and his family, they were killed when their plane crashed. Now, he wasn't flying it. They actually had a very seasoned pilot and co-pilot, and then their entire family here pictured in this picture, father, the wife, and two, I think I have one kid and his wife. I don't think one of these children weren't there, but their son, John, whichever one that is, and then daughter-in-law, Maria, was there as well. They all died in the plane. It crashed, I think, 7 minutes after takeoff. Just minutes after takeoff, there it is. I don't know where I got 7 from, but yeah, it went down and, blew up. Deadly fireball. No survivors. It was hard to get to. It was in a remote area where it crashed. There's a lot of things about this seem very, very strange. And again, the pilots were very experienced. NTSB hasn't told us anything. We don't necessarily know anything. Haven't heard whether or not there was any sort of mayday called out to the towers before he went down. Nothing. We've got no information. This seems very strange to me. Very, very strange. So I don't know who these people were in the big picture, but yeah, something doesn't feel right about that one. Indonesian officials said on Monday they're going to begin easing import restrictions and licensing requirements ahead of the July 9th deadline for U.S. tariff negotiations. Indonesia is trying to make some inroads and trying to do the right thing, hopefully. South Africa is asking for an extension. This was after they came here and basically Trump accused them of genocide. I don't think South Africa is going to get what they're asking for. Trump gave them plenty of time to work through this. You guys don't have anything to work through at this point? All right, we're just going to go straight to the 31% tariff. And yeah, when you get it figured out, let us know. We'll take it down to 10% there. But that's what he's trying to get. The African president's trying to get Trump to can you just put it at 10% for now? And Trump's going to be like, no, we've got a major trade imbalance going on with you guys. And no, we're going to go ahead and set it at 31% so it hurts. So you feel obligated to do something about it. Because if we put it at 10%, that's probably where it's going to stay forever. And we'll still not have access to their market. We'll still not be able to sell there. We'll still have some problems. And they're also talking about like certain companies can't be there unless they're like a third owned by black people or something to that effect. They've got some very strange rules that obviously aren't going to happen at all. So we'll see how that plays out. Iran threatens to release 100 gigabytes of Trump's aides emails. Whatever. I can't imagine there's anything too crazy in there. I mean, go ahead and release them. I don't give a shit. 100 gigabytes, throw it out there, man. Get it out there. I don't know if they've even what they've got, but they've been talking about this hack for a while, and it was prior to the attack. And maybe this was meant to like give them some negotiating wiggle room. Like we got some dirt on you. I think Trump would be like, all right, release it. Have fun. I don't care. Whatever. If it's really, really bad, then you guys are going to be in trouble for hacking it, and we'll get you back. And if it's not really, really bad, and you'll just look stupid. Either way, have at it. So we've got another leak, apparently that's been released by Democrats, most likely. This is from Iran. Their assessment saying that the bombing was not as damaging as we claim. And so, of course, the Democrats are running with this, that Trump failed. When in reality, it's like there's a pile of rubble, and there's almost no way that they managed to get in there and see it, right? It's almost impossible that they did. So, yeah, I thought I had a video of Levitt talking about it. But, yeah, Trump's like, no, they don't know what they're talking about. There's a pile of rubble. Literally, no one's been inside of this to check whether or not damage occurred or not. So again, we don't trust the nonsense that's coming from Iran. The fact that it was leaked again is very concerning because the Washington Post keeps taking leaked information that's illegal, by the way, and then publishing it, which is questionable also. So a lot of things are going to come from this, and I think it's wonderful. I like the fact that the leaks are happening because we're going to catch them, and it likely is a politician that's leaking it. And that individual is committing treason and will be busted heavily for it. They will be busted. And it's a Democrat, so that's a lost seat when they finally end up in jail. So again, I'm having a good time enjoying the show right now. Netanyahu's going to be coming to the White House. Trump is going to be pushing for a ceasefire with Hamas. I also said something to the effect they're going to have a little bit of a celebration, to celebrate the ending of the 12-day war. So again, a lot's happening. He's going to be coming out, I think, next week. Yeah, his third meeting is going to happen. Trump administration is actively pushing for a ceasefire, even as Netanyahu continues to pursue the elimination of the Hamas terrorist organization in Gaza. We'll see if he's able to do that. 20 bodies were found in Mexico after horrific cartel violence, including 4 headless corpses hanging from bridges. I think 5 or more people were actually decapitated. It was all men that were killed. They do this type of stuff, so they kind of make a point to others, and this was just outside of the city that is a Sinaloa state. They basically run everything out there, so this was kind of like, hey, you come into this city, this is what's going to happen to you if you're not, who we want you to be. So they had 15 other bodies, including a 5th missing a head. They were all just discovered, I guess, close to this in some van nearby. Plastic bag containing 5 heads in it. That's also nice. So Jim Jordan subpoenas former senior Pfizer executive, Dr. Philip Dormitzer. We've uncovered that senior Pfizer executives conspired to delay COVID-19 vaccine clinical testing to influence the 2020 election. We want more answers. There's so many things that were done to influence the 2020 election. And this is all coming forward. And then we're going to have things happen to make sure states, or other countries, I should say, cannot influence the election. And we'll probably have something to do with the IDs. I don't know what they're going to do with all the fake Chinese IDs, because those were based off of TikTok users' real address information, and then they created actual, real, legitimate-looking licenses. I don't know if they're able to find them. I'm sure they haven't told us because it would make it easier to make counterfeits, frankly. So hopefully they're able to figure out what those are. Again, we'll see how that plays out. Texas is banning land purchases by China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea. Thank you, finally. Right? I think there's a couple other states that have done this too, like, I don't know, maybe Oklahoma. I feel like there was one up north somewhere that said they wouldn't let anybody buy stuff, or especially even near military bases. So good stuff. Greg Abbott, I don't know, doing sort of the right thing. All right, so we got a lot going on with China. And my good friend here, Tiffany Meyer, can't wait to hear from her. I don't know what it is about her. She's just so dry too. Anyway, I want to make her smile. Let's see if I could. All said, my girl, Tiffany, she's going to tell us there's a lot going on. And she obviously speaks Chinese because she can say all their names like perfectly. It's kind of crazy. I'm like, damn, girl, that's one more reason I like you. All said, China is going through hard times, and Xi doesn't look like he's in charge anymore. In fact, a lot's being done to make sure he's not in charge anymore. I don't know who the good guys are and who the bad guys are anymore when it comes to China, but stuff is majorly going on in China. I'm kind of leaning towards we're cleaning out the deep state, and maybe she wasn't a good one, but the CCP is still involved, and I don't know, there's some extra organizations, some weird shit going on in China. Anyway, here's my lovely friend telling you about it.
Chinese state media reports that a new group has been formed at the very highest levels of the Chinese Communist Party. Analysts tell us it's a sign that Xi Jinping's grip on power is weakening. The group was reportedly established on Monday to oversee major state affairs. It was formed after a meeting of China's Politburo Standing Committee. That's the Chinese regime's top leadership body. Here's veteran China affairs analyst Tang Jingyuan.
Although Xi Jinping still holds the titles of General Secretary of the CCP, Chinese regime leader, and head of the China's Central Military Commission, the actual power and decision-making dynamics have already shifted. That power has now been transferred to a newly formed body known as the Agency of Decision-Making, Deliberation, and Coordination. This agency can be seen as a supergroup with immense power, one that oversees everything from policymaking to implementation. It can intervene at every stage and holds the final say on major decisions, and now it's also a legitimate governing group.
According to Chinese state media, this new group has 3 major roles: decision-making, deliberation, and coordination. In other words, all major Chinese affairs will go through the group.
This can be seen as a major restructuring and transfer of Xi Jinping's power. It looks like the regime has officially declared a complete end to the era in which Xi held absolute authority.
The new group is an apparent challenge to what Xi has been working towards, a party where he alone is the central power. Since Xi took office in 2013, he has purged countless officials deemed not loyal to him and replaced them with loyalists. He also formed dozens of small groups across security, finance, diplomacy, defense, and so forth. He made himself leader of them all. This tactic gave him direct control over a broad range of national affairs. It was his strategy for asserting power. In 2018, under Xi's control, China's legislative body revised the Chinese constitution. It scrapped term limits for the regime's highest leadership positions. That meant he could theoretically stay in power for as long as he wanted. But last year, signs that Xi's grip on power is weakening started to show. For example, some of Xi's top military aides mysteriously disappeared. Some were removed from their posts.
In my view, this shift in Xi Jinping's power has, to a large extent, eliminated the immediate and urgent risk of war over Taiwan in the short term. However, in the long run, as long as the Chinese Communist regime still exists, the danger of a Taiwan Strait War and the threat of Taiwan being annexed will always remain.
Then who is leading the internal opposition against Xi? Tang and many China analysts point to several veteran regime leaders, including former regime head Hu Jintao, former Chinese Premier Wen Jiabao, and the Chinese military second-in-command Zhang Youxia. NTD was among the first media outlets to report on signs that Xi's power is declining. In recent months, newspapers, including Nikkei Asia and the New York Post, have also published analysis hinting at a major shakeup in Beijing.
Dad, she says all their names so perfectly. I got to pull this dude back here. Let me see if I can find him really quick. If I can pull him up. Yeah. These are the weirdest glasses I've ever seen. You see how it like morphs his face and you can see the side of his head from the glasses? But what's even weirder is you can't see his ears. Right? Like, this is strange. I've never seen that before. That's very weird. I don't know what's going on with that, but that's extraordinary. Yeah, anyway. Let's go back to my girl. There she is. Hey! Anyway. National People's Congress, NPC. It's the highest legislative body in China, announced on Friday that Vice Admiral Li Hanjun, I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, and nuclear engineer Liu Shipeng, they were expelled for unspecified reasons. On the same day, Admiral Miao Hua was kicked out of the Central Military Commission, the governing body of the People's Liberation Army. So Li, Liu, and Miao appear to be the latest targets. Miao. Exactly. Let's see how many times we can say meow. Car sales plummet following pre-tariff panic buying. Yeah, apparently the party's over there saying, again, just more negative talk. A lot of people were buying prior to the tariffs kicking in. Ultimately, tariffs might affect what we're exporting, and this looks like this is probably what's going on here because a lot of this stuff seems to be at a port where they're probably going to send them somewhere else, and maybe those have slowed down. But, I mean, honestly, American cars should sell better right now with tariffs happening with the other automakers, in fact, especially with Europe and stuff like that. So we'll see how it plays out. Again, just more fear porn and stuff like that. U.S. dollar has its worst first 6 months since 1973. Literally fell nearly 11% versus other currencies in the first 6 months of this year. So the dollar is, we're going through a conversion here, folks. We're going through a conversion. We've talked a lot about that as we've got some stuff happening, but the dollar is definitely, there it is. Yeah, this is why Powell should lower the rates. Trump sent this message to Powell. Of course, Powell's blaming Trump, and we're going to get to that in a second, but Trump is being smart to blame Powell, is where the blame really belongs, and everyone's like, it's tariffs' fault. It's like, no one's seen the increase in prices yet. Inflation's reasonably flat right now. So it's not zero like everyone keeps saying. It's like 1%, 2%, something like that, but it's where it should be. Like, as far as they're concerned, that's zero, even though there's no such thing as zero inflation. All said, here's Carolyn Levitt talking about it.
About the world. At the top is Switzerland. They're only paying a quarter for interest rates. Cambodia, Japan, Denmark, Thailand, Botswana, Barbados, Taiwan, Bulgaria, Cuba, Sweden, Morocco, Cabo Verde, South Korea, Algeria, Canada, Albania, Libya, Malaysia, China, New Zealand, Trinidad and Tobago. Czechia, Bolivia, Australia, Costa Rica, the Bahamas, Kuwait, Papua New Guinea, Bosnia, United Kingdom, and the UAE are all paying lower interest rates than the United States of America, which has one of the hottest and strongest economies in the world. The president sent this note to the Fed chair. It says, Jerome, you are, as usual, too late. You have cost the USA a fortune and continue to do so. You should lower the rate by a lot. Hundreds of billions of dollars are being lost, and there is no inflation. And the president is right. There is historically low inflation thanks to his policies, and we will continue.
I agree with her correction, because Trump keeps saying no inflation, historically low. Yes, historically low, very low inflation, but certainly not no inflation. Fed Chair Jerome Powell blames Trump's tariffs for holding up the rate cuts. It sounds like he's planning on going one more month without rate cuts. Curious what that ends up doing to the stock market, which, by the way, is having an odd day, in my opinion. First off, gold's up quite a bit, so it's back up to where it should be rather than just hit 33.50 right now. 33.50, kind of fun. Double 355, that's a number I'm going to have to look up later when it comes to the economy. But yes, oil's up 65. That's still not in a bad place. I think if it breaks 80, they're concerned that that's going to cause things to happen. But again, we've got S&P down, NASDAQ down, but Dow is up. Dow is up almost a percentage. Again, maybe they're moving from NASDAQ, S&P over to Dow. Maybe. It's just strange. I think the stock market right now makes little sense. I think it's overpriced. I think there's some stocks that are probably still good buys, and I think there's many that are going to get slammed, especially when DEI stuff gets totally screwed. U.S. aid funding getting stopped. That's going to affect companies soon. There's a lot of things that are going to start to play out, especially as we figure out where some of the illegal money is flowing. I'll bet there's a few of these companies that are going to be a part of that as well. So, well, we'll see how it plays out. Again, drslikesgold.com, drslikesgold.com. If you're in a 401k or an IRA, I'd recommend considering getting into precious metals IRA. There's still a lot of room for growth in gold. We're expecting a lot crazy stuff to continue to happen, and China is still a big question mark. How that plays out, we don't know. Again, most things have worked out better than the fears, and I still think everything's working out in the proper way. I do think the Fed's got to get blamed at some point. That's not fear. I think that's like legitimate. Like, we need the Fed to be at fault so we can get out of the contract that we have with them. And it needs to be bad enough to where the public agrees. That's the question. How bad is bad enough? We'll find out, I think, for sure. drslikesgold.com. Get out of that stuff while you can. And also, been a lot of discussions. There were some studies done, actually, about the spike protein and how they're actually noticing that I think they were out 700 days, over 700 days, like barely over. And they're noticing that people still had huge quantities of the spike protein in their body. It hadn't gone down. In fact, in most cases, it's gotten worse over time. One of the things that McCullough recommends is the Ultimate Spike Support. This is a supplement that helps remove those spike proteins in the body. So if you're very close contact to somebody that got the sleeve roll-up, you might want to consider it. If you got the sleeve roll-up, at least one or two of them, I highly recommend you start taking these and continue to take them. That mRNA thing's still inside of you and still creating spike proteins. Still. Get them out of your system as quick as you can. Also, the Contagion Emergency Kit's another one I plug. I mean, the medical kit's awesome. It's got all sorts of like antibiotics and stuff. That's important. The Contagion kit's your antiviral stop. So if they push another weird viral thing at us, that's going to save your butt. It's got ivermectin. It's got HCQ. It's got another antiviral. It's got the Z-Pack, and it's also got the nebulizer with 5 vials of that asthma medication. Basically, it opens up your upper respiratory. It's an incredible kit. Again, all of this is legal. You got a prescription. Every bit of it is awesome that way. An easy way, too, if you want to go to the shop tab, is by goal: anti-aging, appetite control, cleanse and detox, hair loss support, heart health, immune support, spike collection, right? A lot of stuff like that. And this one here, which it hasn't shipped yet, but I should be getting it probably next week, the ivermectin mebendazole. This is the rock star, and I'm excited to do this. Like I said, I was doing my version of it. I was doing a little HCQ, and I had some stuff that was basically going out of date. I bought some new, but I had some HCQ and Ivers that were going out of date. So I was just taking those and finishing them up. And I was noticing huge differences, and I've actually really improved. But I've heard a lot more stuff about parasites and how they work. And, parasites, one of the things you might even notice if you have parasites is you will crave sweets typically. You'll get weird cravings though, and it's because you're being robbed of these nutrients, and so the parasites are trying to get you to feed them. That's why so many people say when you get cancer, you're not supposed to eat sugar. All right, there's a connection in there, and I don't want to say it straight up because it's just theories and some studies that show parasites and cancer seem to have some relationships. This parasitic cleanse has, on many cases, actually had cancers disappear with people. The fubendazole is one that a lot of people are using. They don't actually have that for humans, so they've been using dog versions of it. Mebendazole is the same family, actually made for humans. This has that. It's also got ivermectin. It's got 2 pretty solid doses of it. The Ivers I was taking were 15 milligrams. This is 25. It's bigger, obviously. And then 250 for the mebendazole. I think a normal is like 125 or around there. So again, that's a heavier dosage of that as well. This parasite cleanse is going to help remove many of the problems. And then pay attention to your diet and stuff like that. But you'll notice changes in your body. You'll notice you feel different. You'll start noticing your energy comes up. You're going to notice a lot because most of us have parasites. We do. And they don't do anything to help us with that because they like it that way. And then also, I think with the wireless and the 5G and stuff like that, I think it excites those certain parasites. And I think that's where a lot of the sicknesses start to come as they turn on these certain frequencies, and it excites the parasites within us, and then it makes us sick. Get rid of them. Go to twc.health/OTF, twc.health/OTF, The Wellness Company, twc.health/OTF. Make those smart decisions to keep yourself healthy because nobody else is going to be looking out for you. You know that, right? Well, I mean, obviously Maha's trying. Russia masses 50,000 troops around Sumy in an effort to overwhelm just by sheer numbers. So, yeah, they're about to take another spot here out in the Ukrainian, eastern Ukraine, basically. And so, yep, big time outnumbering the Ukrainians, roughly 3-1. They're about to do a huge push. Ukraine, I feel bad. There's just too many people dying, and this war needs to stop. They need to let Russia have the stuff they have because otherwise it's just going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. And the world doesn't have any more weapons to give you, Ukraine, and you don't have any more people to kill anymore. I mean, that's it. Like, let's put an end to this war. And then hopefully we can get stuff back to reasonable peace and a better world and all that good stuff. Kremlin warns the West against backing the color revolution in Serbia as protests are growing. There are quite a few people that are out in the city square here. They are pretty pissed off. Some violence going on, throwing bottles and stuff, kind of doing our standard revolution that we have frequently going on in LA, Portland, and places like that. Hopefully our CIA is not involved with this. But yeah, the president is having an issue there. They want an early election to get him out. I'm not even going to try to say his name because I'm 100% sure I don't know how to say it. So yeah, President Alexander, whatever the hell his last name is, Vucic? I don't know. I was actually trying to look it up. I couldn't find a video where I knew they would say his name. I was just like, all right, fuck it. I don't know how to say his name. I gave up. That's what I did. And please don't email me and tell me because I don't care. I know you get a few of you guys that love to correct me on stuff, and it's cool. I don't mind it, but I don't really care how to say his name. So if you've already sent the email, shame on you. Russia hands over new stealth frigate to the Indian Navy. This is, I think, like the 8th one or something that they've given them. Yeah, their 8th Krivik class frigate to be delivered to India. India has actually put a lot of their own components on it, so supposedly 26% Indian components. So India is buying some American stuff and buying some Russian stuff, which is going to be very interesting because there's not a lot of places in the world where both pieces of technology are used side by side. I'm sure we're not thrilled about it, but it is what it is. And we've got, what we got? Meta is launching their super intelligence division to lead AI innovation. Zuckerberg is trying to poach some top talent to make this happen. Let's see, he announced this recently in an internal memo. It's going to be the Meta Super Intelligence Labs. They're advancing AI development. Alexander Wang, former Scale CEO, will serve as the chief AI officer, while Nat Friedman, former GitHub CEO, will lead AI product development per an internal memo that was leaked, of course, to the Wall Street Journal. So we'll see what happens there. I just don't trust Meta at all, but it is what it is. Hundreds of drugs have been approved without proof they work. This is a new study that's out right now, and this is pretty concerning. There are 4 specific things that matter when they try to decide if a drug is should be used or not. And see if I'm trying to see if I can find the 4 things. Down here it is. So the 4 criteria are presence of a control group, replication in 2 well-conducted trials, blinding of participants and investigators, like double-blind studies, basically, and the use of clinical endpoints like symptom relief or extended survival. These are supposed to be the bedrock of drug evaluation. Yet, only 28% of drugs met all 4 criteria. 40 drugs met 0 of the criteria. Those findings were damning. 73% of drugs approved by the FDA during the study period failed to meet all 4 basic criteria for demonstrating substantial evidence of effectiveness. The FDA was in bed with pharma. They had that board. Those people were in bed with pharma. This is how pharma has done what they've done. They've bought and paid for all the people. Maha has gone in, or Kennedy has gone in and fired or removed all the people on the panel that had ties to pharmaceutical. Anybody that has ties to pharmaceutical in the FDA has been put into either less important positions or removed altogether. Pharmaceutical companies no longer control our health system. We're making huge progress, guys. Ultra-processed foods, or UPF, they've been linked to brain changes that drive overeating. It's kind of interesting. A lot of weird stuff in this article, and it's fascinating, frankly. But ultra-processed foods may be literally rewiring your brain to make you overeat, according to some research. They did brain scans from nearly 30,000 middle-aged adults and found structural changes in regions that control hunger and food cravings. Key brain changes identified. The research recently published in Nature found that people who consumed more UPFs showed measurable differences in brain areas involved in feeding behavior, emotion, and motivation. Higher UPF intake was linked to increased thickness in the bilateral occipital cortex, a brain region crucial for visual object recognition and processing shapes. This is fascinating. It's the part of the brain that looks and recognizes shapes and objects. It affects that. So when you see this, it makes you hungry. This is what your brain knows as food. It's literally got chemicals in it, so it does that dopamine trigger every time you eat it. It's not good for you because you usually feel gross after you eat it. But your brain has been wired to ignore that. Their findings indicate that a high consumption of ultra-processed foods is associated with structural changes in the brain regions regulating eating behavior, such as the hypothalamus, amygdala, and the right nucleus accumbens. Wow, so many things I don't know in the world. This is going to lead to a cycle of overeating, they say. The study also uncovered a potential biological mechanism behind these brain changes. Researchers found that increased UPF intake was associated with higher levels of systemic inflammation and risky metabolic markers in the blood, including C-reactive protein, or CRP, an indicator of inflammation, triglycerides, and glycated hemoglobin. High levels of CRP, triglycerides, and HbA1c are often considered concerning indicators of potential health issues. So, here's the thing. This stuff's not good for you, and it is rewiring you. You can rewire your brain back, but it does take effort. If you continue down this path, you will get sick and die. Just will. There's too much information out there suggesting that this food is horrible for you. Now, maybe Maha can save some people. We'll see. Yeah, I was talking about this earlier. The ultimate spike detox. Dr. McCall is saying this is the way to go. And so the wellness company, twc.health/OTF, twc.health/OTF. Definitely want to check out the ultimate spike detox. That probably should have been over by the advertisement, but what? Oh, there it was. That's why I was planning on doing it twice. Such a good advertisement. All right, this dude is crazy. So he was a PhD in criminal something or other. Where is he? They got his PhD, former criminology PhD student. Killed 4 people. Brian Koberger is who this guy is. Yeah. Just a pretty douchey dude. Killed a bunch of people in a college. 4 of them, for that matter, back in 2022. They just basically busted him. They gave him 4 consecutive life sentences instead of the death sentence, which I guess is what he was pushing for. I don't believe he has a chance for parole. I doubt it anyways. But yeah, former criminology PhD. Almost got away with it, by the way. They figured out there was a spotted car that then led to the cops figuring out who that was, and then took the cell phone data from that individual and was able to piece together a lot of stuff. And this is how they ended up catching the dude. He almost got away with it. So some weird Russian radio signal might end the world, might scare you, blah, blah, blah. They've been making a big deal about some of this stuff forever. But it is kind of funny. It's not funny, but it's weird. Many people suspecting that it's nothing, possibly related to an old system that the Soviets had that was automated in case all the leadership of the country died in a nuclear incident. It had the ability to essentially check to see if there was radiation and some other stuff. And if it was unable to connect with certain people, then it would automatically launch the missiles towards all the targets that were set up, mostly us, for that matter, back then especially. So this radio signal's been happening for a long time. It goes back to the late 70s. And again, some are just wondering if this is how they communicate some information out to some of the spies. The timing of it is very strange. In fact, I want to say there was one recent thing. It was before, I want to say it was before the Israeli attack or before the attack on Iran or something to that effect. And then there was some weird stuff that came from this. Again, strange. Again, there's always been a lot of mystery around some of the stuff, and there's always been these crazy stories that have been created that later are proven to be false. One of them happens to be the Kola super deep borehole. This is one of the stories, you may have heard this, that they got down to a significant depth, deeper than the Mariana Trench, and they hit a unique spot where the temperature spiked. Now, the rumor was that they put a microphone, a heat-sensitive or heat-resistant microphone, and they heard screaming and all. So they tried to make it sound like they literally drilled into hell. And for a long time, there was a lot of people that believed that. But then ultimately, they've talked to the scientists, and the scientists, they didn't flee in terror. They said the project was shut down. There were no screams recorded. They just hit a geothermal gradient where it just got extraordinarily hotter. They probably got down closer to the mantle or something to that effect. Russia is known to be the deepest drill by far. They've drilled deeper than any other country on this planet by far. By far. They are experts at it. That was why I think we actually pulled them out when we had that well that was in the Gulf and that we couldn't cap it. They've literally had to come out and help. They are experts at that type of stuff. They've had a number of these things happen in the past. They were the ones that invented that technology where you use bombs that created a vacuum where the fire was, and then it was able to put the fire out, and then they were able to cap the well once the thing's not spitting out all sorts of fire. We had that problem in Iraq when Saddam Hussein caught all the oil fields on fire, which created a nightmare as well. So yeah, this just to play a little of this so you can hear it. I mean, it's kind of strange. I think this is the one I want to play. Check this out. That's basically it. Al, this is on a very specific frequency too, and this is it's called UVB-76. It was apparently initially being transmitted out of Leningrad. It's at 4,625 kilohertz. Find that on your FM dial. Good luck. Actually, it'd be more AM because megahertz is FM, kilohertz is AM. But yeah, they don't go anywhere near that region. There's also nobody that really owns that frequency, so it's kind of a weird frequency. Again, a lot of speculation. Who knows? Who knows? Just a fun story. And finally, we've got this TV evangelist Rev Jimmy Swaggart is dead at 90. This guy apparently got caught twice with hookers, which, it sucks when you're a TV evangelist and you're doing things that your flock wouldn't approve of, that's for sure. That's why I just run with I'm a flawed human. And that way, when people see me doing flawed things, it's like, well, I told you I'd do this. What? Come on. But anyway, yeah, this dude's passed away. So in case any of you were big into that Jimmy Swaggart stuff, there it is. There it is. Well, he wasn't, there was like a gold club or gold, something on Sunday mornings, I remember. I forget what the name of it, way back when I was a kid. Whatever the case is. A lot going on, folks. This big, bad, beautiful biatch of a bill is going to piss off a lot of people. I'm curious to see what happens in the House. I think ultimately pressure is going to be put on these people to pass this damn thing one way or the other. And I'm curious to see how that plays out. It's supposed to obviously get done by Friday. We'll see if that happens too. A lot's in the House's hands right now, but they're definitely not happy about it. So these things are coming to fruition, right? The world's changing and changing quickly. Going to be out in Houston. Again, hopefully you guys have a chance to see me. I'll be out there at 2-a-days. It's off Pearland Avenue. We'll be there. Actually, we'll be there Friday. 4 to 6 is the show, 4 to 6 Central Time. We will be broadcasting it on Rumble only, just mainly because I don't think I could stream to multiple locations easily. So I'll be doing it that way. And we should have a really, really good time. Anybody that's actually out there in advance, we're probably going to be hooking up at 2-a-days the Thursday night, probably around 6 o'clock is the plan. So if you feel like hopping in early and saying hi to some of us, feel free to come on over. That would be cool. Fun to see you. Try to spend some money at 2-a-days, please, if you can, because that's a big part. They were nice enough to let me go out there and do it. Talk to them a bunch of sweet people over there. Very much looking forward to meeting them in person and looking forward to meeting you guys in person. So please come on out there and let's show our pride for the 4th of July. And I've got a great show put together. I think you guys are going to love the music. And we've actually got a speaker, so you guys are going to hear it good locally. And then you guys at home, you're going to hear it good as well. So this should be all work out beautifully. I'm looking forward to, like I said, meeting you guys. So come on out. Check it out if you're in the Houston area on Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. The place is called 2-a-days. It's Sports Bar. It's located on Pearland Avenue. And again, lots of fun. So we're going to be doing that. And of course, doing it together. But what we do together, that's where we go one, right? We go all. That's how it works. It's on the Fringe with Dan Radio Style.